when Jimmy asked me to speak, it forced me to do some reflection. Because it's not like I had a strategic plan and formed an advisement committee that meets every month. It's nothing like that. I was intentional in forming some relationships throughout my life, but I didn't really understand why those relationships, or I didn't really realize the significance of those relationships until later in life. I think God knew. I think He knew His plan. And so it's real easy for a lot of us to think that, I'm really busy at work, I'm really busy with my family, everything's going good, just don't have time. But, I think I'm a good example of you never know what life is going to hit you with. And so it's worth making investments in the relationships before you need them. It's not always about me. That, there's points and times where we have to be there for other people. So sometimes you're the giver and sometimes you're the recipient. But the point is you got to have these relationships in place before that crisis hits for it to work both ways. And so the need to have a few guys in your life that you can really rely on for support and accountability is pretty easy to comprehend. I think we all can understand that. But it's really, really hard to do. When that point of crisis comes and you really need that person, if you don't have those relationships already in place, it's hard. I'm coaching a lot of people going through cancer right now, and a lot of them just don't have relationships in place. And I feel horrible for them because we're in the midst of that pain and that agony that they're going through. It's not like there's a lot of people that want to just gravitate to that scenario. People will gravitate to those scenarios when that relationship's already there. But MacDonald explained all this perfectly when he said, building a company of a happy few. He calls it a happy few, and I love that term. Although I have few is a big, broad definition for me. I have a lot of people in my few. He said, building a company of a happy few will probably not be attractive to somebody who's resistant to being challenged about the way he lives, or the way he thinks, or the way he walks with God. Allowing a few friendships to grow, and you will begin to hear some rebukes, some corrections, some warnings, and it's much easier to render opinions and judgments, and it's really much harder to listen. And I love that quote. And not only does it outline the expectations of us as individuals on what to expect when we're in a company of a happy few, but to me it's a good measuring stick about the quality of relationships you have already. Because I think all of us have a group of really good close friends in our lives. But, if you've never been rebuked, if they never challenged the way you live, if they never challenged your walk with God, then either you're perfect, Christ was, we're not, or you simply haven't allowed that relationship to grow deep enough for those kind of conversations to open up. Or you're just too hard-headed to listen, which I'm plenty guilty of that in my life. What's important to note is my relationship with my inner circle have come from all aspects of my life. Some have come through church, some have gone through work, some have gone through relationships with our families. And what they have in common is that, all play that role that MacDonald laid out. And what's really important is what they all have in common is we share a love of Christ. And there's Ricky. Ricky's back there. He's in that group. And being aligned and helping me stay aligned with Christ is one of the common denominators. And so I need that group in my life.